Hello everybody, it's iSayWhat from the Human Hunter community, or James, whatever you bloody want to call me, and today I'm joined by, well, nobody, because this week I'm going to be editing Plot Twist. It's not going to be a tutorial. If you want tutorials and stuff, you can go to the community FAQ page made by Jason MB, but I'm just going to edit the thing, and you are going to watch, and you can learn some stuff if you want, and tell me wrong, I'm not a professional editor, so I'll probably do something where there's easier ways to do it. It's just the way that I do it. Anyway, let us begin. First things first, once we've recorded our audio, you may notice there's background noise, this weird little statically fanning and shit in the background. So we want to remove that. In Audacity, there's a built-in effect. So you want to highlight a region that doesn't have any sound in it, no one's speaking, and you go get noise profile. Then what you do is you can sample it by highlighting another little bit of the audio clip and previewing it. You can play with your effects until it doesn't make your voice go and it actually sounds alright. Then you highlight your whole audio and you go OK to accept the noise removal, and then you export your audio from Audacity. The next few things you can do in Audacity, but I rather do them in Premiere Pro, so let's go over to that. Now that we're in Premiere, what we're going to do is import everything that we need apart from the gameplay, because that takes a while to conform, so I do that later. Then I'm going to make a new sequence called audio. It doesn't really matter what preset it is, because we're only editing the audio, and we're going to use the default settings for the Community Hunter intro later. Once I've got the audio, we use our sync, which is where we count down 3, 2, 1, sync, at the same time on Skype to avoid any noise delay. We tend to do 2 syncs in order to sync it up better, and then we find it, and then we move the audio around to make it so we sync at the same time. Now you notice Dan is a loud bastard, and I am a quiet bastard when recording, so I do some normalization, which brings all our max peaks to the same level. I normally go by -1 decibel. Dan is loud and very quiet at times, so we do compression. Go into your effects, there's compression, do single band compression. You apply that, tend to do the ratio 3 to 1, and then you play around with the threshold until you get a balance. What compression does, it makes all the louds quiet, and the quiet loud makes the audio sound balanced throughout. Dan does still sound slightly loud at some point, so I tend to do a bit of the changing around with the gain on mine and his to make me slightly louder, him slightly quieter. Once we've got all our audio sounding okay, I edit out all the dead air, because there's a lot of times where Skype will lag a bit and we'll just be like, or there's a lot of times when Dan says a lot, so I edit that out. Go through, edit it all out, and then we end up with the audio for the video. Now that we have the audio, we're going to make the intro for Plot Twist. I actually have this all preset made, but we're going to remake it now. So I make a new sequence for the intro. You can do sequence in nesting later, but this is the way that I do it. So we go in, we pop the main logo down. You know that it's too big. Luckily, I've scaled it down and I've saved the exact scale to what I want it to be, so I can just drag and drop that on there. And then we've got the stopwatch, which is animated. You notice it's got this nasty black background around it. We do have another version without the background, but again, I'm going to use the version without, just to show you how to get rid of it quickly. You can either use a color key or chroma key, depending on what program you use. This is also used for green screens and blue screens. Choose the black and choose the settings, make it feather so it makes it look nice around the edge. I don't think I did it in this video. Or you can use a matte, a garbage matte or mask. What you can do then, draw around, you use the opacity tool on Premiere Pro. I can't remember how to do it on Vegas. I think it's literally just called a mask. You draw around. Again, I've already got a preset for this, so I'm just going to drag and drop it on there. Puts it in position. Looks nice and snazzy. Now that we've got the intro, we're going to make the actual video. So we make another new sequence. Again, the preset doesn't matter because we're going to drag and drop the Community Hunter intro in and then change sequence settings. Depending upon that. Now that we drag the intro in, I find that the audio on it is too loud, so I'll bring the level down slightly, and then I like to add a little transition from the intro to the actual video. So what I'll do is I'll unlink the video and audio so I can adjust where the video ends in comparison to the audio, and I'll make it so when the ring gets to the edge of the screen, that's where it finishes. Then I'll add the effect, the iris round video transition. I'll give it a green border. I can either use the eyedropper or just pick the green, and then make that start when the circle appears inside the Rooster Teeth logo, and it makes it just look a bit nicer in my eyes. Next, I'll bring across the intro that I've just made, and I'll put that on the layer below the Community Hunter intro, and I'll make it happen just before the transition, then it will appear properly. I also delete the audio on this because there is none, and then I bring across the actual audio, me and Dan talking, and delete the video on this because there is none. I'll play around with the levels, make it sound okay, and then I go into the gameplay. Gameplay-wise, I like to edit in the actual timeline. Some people like to edit in the trimmer or the source editor, whatever it's called on Premiere, and then you choose your relevant clips to appear when you want them, and then just put them around. Always make sure that your audio for your gameplay isn't booming so you can actually hear what they're saying. There's a lot of dialogue in Block Theatre, so I put it quite low because otherwise it can get a bit confusing having 3 voices. If you find that your video is too big, you can always scale it down. I wouldn't recommend scaling it up because it will go slightly distorted and look weird, so rather I'll recommend scaling the intro down and then matching the whole video to that size. Now we'll go on to the stopwatch. I'll find the position of where I want the stopwatch and apply 2 keyframes in front of it. I'll then make the first keyframe so it's off the screen, and then I'll make the second keyframe so it's slightly higher to where I want it to be. I then apply the ease out transition effect to this keyframe, which will make it, rather than going beep beep beep, it will go beep beep beep, and it will look a lot smoother and go into place. Finally, I copy and paste a stopwatch to every single question to the plot, and then adjust the speed of them depending on how long it's going to be, because we've edited stuff out. I also have to adjust the keyframes manually because of the fact that I've made this transition myself. After editing and I find the video is still like 30 seconds too long or so, what I'll do is increase the speed of the audio, and then I'll use a pitch shifter to make it sound like we're not so squeaky and high pitch. If it goes over -2, -3 when using the pitch shifter, I'll then say I have to actually edit out more audio. And then that's the actual video done. So we go File, Export, make sure you're choosing the right sequence, make sure it's in the sequence brackets, Video, Audio. These are the settings I normally go match source highest bitrate on the H.264. Export the video, go to ahuploads.com, blah blah blah, put it on there. Anyway, that's how I edit Plot Twist. If there's more stuff that you want to find out, go over to the FAQ community show by Jason, like I said at the start, or you can just check the comments of the video and I'll answer you in there. More tips, tricks, achievement hunters.com. Bye!